Consciousness which broke my sleep last night was one of floating, of being carried swiftly by some invisible force through a vast space, then of being gently lowered, then of light, until gradually I found myself on my feet in a broad noonday brightness, and before me an open country. Hills, hills as far as the eye could reach, hills with snow on their tops and mists around their gorges. This was the first thing I saw distinctly. Then, casting my eyes towards the ground, I perceived that all about me lay huge masses of grey material, which at first I took for blocks of stone, having the form of lions. But as I looked at them more intently, my sight grew clearer, and I saw to my horror that they were really alive. A panic seized me, and I tried to run away. But on turning, I became suddenly aware that the whole country was filled with these awful shapes, and the faces of those nearest to me were most dreadful for their eyes, and something in their expression, though not in the form of their faces, were human. I was absolutely alone in a terrible world peopled with lions, two of a monstrous kind. Recovering myself with an effort, I resumed my flight. But as I passed through the midst of this concourse of monsters, it suddenly struck me that they were perfectly unconscious of my presence. I even laid my hands in passing on the heads and manes of several, but they gave no sign of seeing me or of knowing that I touched them. At last I gained the threshold of a great pavilion, not apparently built by hands, but formed by nature. The walls were solid, yet they were composed of huge trees standing close together like columns, and the roof of the pavilion was formed by their massive foliage, through which not a ray of outer light penetrated. Such light as there was seemed nebulous, and appeared to rise out of the ground. In the center of this pavilion I stood alone, happy to have got clear away from those terrible beasts and the gaze of their steadfast eyes. As I stood there, I became conscious of the fact that the nebulous light of the place was concentrating itself into a focus on the columned wall opposite to me. It grew there, became intenser, and then spread, revealing as it spread a series of moving pictures that appeared to be scenes actually enacted before me. For the figures in the pictures were living, and they moved before my eyes, though I heard neither word nor sound, and this is what I saw. First there came a writing on the wall of the pavilion. This is the history of our world. These words, as I looked at them, appeared to sink into the wall as they had risen out of it, and to yield place to the pictures, which then began to come out in succession, dimly at first, then strong and clear as actual scenes. First I beheld a beautiful woman with the sweetest face and most perfect form conceivable. She was dwelling in a cave among the hills with her husband, and he too was beautiful, more like an angel than a man. They seemed perfectly happy together, and their dwelling was like paradise. On every side was beauty, sunlight, and repose. This picture sank into the wall as the writing had done. And then came out another, the same man and woman driving together in a sledge drawn by reindeer over fields of ice, with all about them glaciers and snow, and great mountains veiled in wreaths of slowly moving mist. The sledge went at a rapid pace, and its occupants talked gaily to each other, so far as I could judge by their smiles and the movement of their lips. But what caused me much surprise was that they carried between them, and actually in their hands, a glowing flame, the fervour of which I felt reflected from the picture upon my own cheeks. The ice around shone with its brightness. The mists upon the snow mountains caught its gleam. Yet strong as were its light and heat, neither the man nor the woman seemed to be burned or dazzled by it. This picture too, the beauty and brilliancy of which greatly impressed me, sank and disappeared as the former. Next I saw a terrible-looking man clad in an enchanter's robe, standing alone upon an ice crack. In the air above him, poised like a dragonfly, was an evil spirit, having a head and face like that of a human being. The rest of it resembled the tail of a comet, and seemed made of a green fire, which flickered in and out as though swayed by a wind. And as I looked, suddenly, through an opening among the hills, I saw the sledge pass, carrying the beautiful woman and her husband, and in the same instant the enchanter also saw it, and his face contracted, and the evil spirit lowered itself and came between me and him. Then this picture sank and vanished. I next beheld the same cave in the mountains which I had before seen, and a beautiful couple together in it. Then a shadow darkened the door of the cave,